Hello guys, welcome back to my show Get Real with Jasmin. If this is your first time to my show, hello, I'm Jasmin and it is a podcast about personal growth, self-development, and just anything that's going on with my life. So before we start, today's episode is half serious and half entertaining, so just take what you need, I don't care. And today's story is actually provided by my mom. So this lady told me that the other day she was buying bread at a bakery and it was super busy. It was a long queue. And when she finally got to pay, the staff told her like it's $300. So it's around 15 Australian dollars and around like 10 US dollars. And for anybody who doesn't know, $10 is a lot for bread in Taiwan. So my mom was like, "What?" And then she asked for the receipt. And when she checked the receipt, that she can see that the first item on the receipt was wrong. So she was like, she told the staff, "Hey, this is not right." And but because there was a long queue, so there was another staff that pulled my mom to the side and then just to figure out what's going on here. So what I found out is that they put the wrong item on the receipt. So originally my mom bought like a bagel, which is like $2, but they then put in another item that cost $4 more. In Taiwan, that's a lot for bread. But here is where it gets ridiculous. That staff member told my mom it's very complicated and difficult to process refund here. So I will give you this bagel for free, but can you buy this bread instead? Which is a bread that they mistakenly charged my mom. And I was listening to this story at this point, I was like, what kind of customer service is that? And my mom is so kind enough that she agrees with it. She agreed to buy the bread. And sometimes I think like my mom probably saved all the kindness for herself and she didn't leave any for me. And what really pissed me off is that after my mom agreed to buy the bread, the staff member keep emphasizing to my mom that she was doing my mom a favor by giving her that bagel for free. And I was like, what kind of favor are you talking about? What the fuck? Like, you just forced this lady to buy a bread that she didn't originally planning to buy. So, like, guys, honestly, what the hell? So, I started to think of, okay, what I can build on this story. And I was like, okay, let's just go really straight to the topic. Let's just talk about customer service. Because I used to work in customer service, so I know that there's no way that you should treat a customer like that. And you don't even need to work in customer service to know that. Like, it's just common sense. When you make a mistake, you apologize and then you fix a mistake. Not try to make them some excuses, not even try to manipulate them. And just a quick background about me that I used to work in a five-star hotel in Australia. And so today what I want to talk about is the lesson that I have learned by working in customer service, which later on applied to life in general. I think working in hospitality and customer service really changes the way that I see people because the amount of people that we interact with or we meet on a daily basis is just huge compared to other industries. And because I was naturally introverted, so I don't think I will ever have this understanding about people if I never work in customer service. So, let's just get started. Lesson 1: own your fuck ups, but focus on solutions. When you fuck up, just apologize and admit your mistake. Don't try to cover it up because people value honesty more than excuses. And I think customer service is very unique in a way that when you fuck up, when you make a mistake, the consequence and the impact of your mistake is usually immediate and obvious. So for example, say if you order like a steak in a restaurant and then they serve you salmon, you will notice a mistake the moment that they serve the dish. It's just immediate, right? And like compared to other industries, for example, say if you're a product manager and then you miss a deadline for a certain project, for example, the factory is not going to shut down tomorrow and you'll probably still have a lot of inventory in the warehouse to sell it to the clients, to the end users. And I think because of that, because of this about customer service, where the consequence of your mistake is so noticeable and obvious, that I learned to adopt this solution oriented mindset whenever I fucked up, whenever I make the mistake. I really just focus on solutions right now instead of like dwelling on my mistakes and keep on blaming myself for making that mistake. And I don't just mean at work, I mean for life too. I think a lot of people, when they make mistake, they just keep on blaming themselves and then just keep feeling very sorry. But girls, you are not being useful and helpful to anyone just by keep staying there and feeling sorry. It's not helping. You know, you should always apologize first, yes, but what happened after that? Focus on the solution. Stop dwelling on your mistake. And another thing that I want to talk about is to own and admit your mistake. Stop trying to make excuses to cover it up or even lies. Apologize first to the guest, to the managers, to your friend, whatever. Even if you have great reasons, save it for later. They don't need to hear that first. All they need is just your apology. It's like, I really hate when people make mistakes and they just keep on saying that, oh, I'm new to the team, I'm new to the company, so I didn't know that, or I just have a bad day, that's why I say something I just shouldn't say to you. What does that have anything to do with me? And I think it says a lot about a person when they refuse to apologize, when they refuse to own their mistake. And trust me, everybody can see that. People can see through that. People can see that you're just making excuses and that you're refusing to own your mistake. People are not stupid. It's just such an uncool behavior. And most of the time, people are okay with you making mistakes. Most of the time. And if they don't, like if people just keep yelling at you or they refuse to accept your apology, well, that's very unfortunate, yes, but it is what it is. Learn your lesson and be careful and just don't make it again. That's it, and just move on. And lesson two, treat people equally. Respect is not about money. Working at a five-star hotel, you meet a lot of rich people or like just financially comfortable people, like whatever your definition is. And these people, a lot of times, are monsters that they yell, they scream, they threaten you. And don't get me wrong, like, I don't mean that rich people equal monsters. And actually, a lot of times, people that are genuinely rich, like billionaires, they are super nice, actually. But my point here is whenever I meet a person that's super rich but treat people like shit, I would just be like, God, that is just so pathetic because you might have a lot of money, but you will never have my respect. And this really reminds me of a story that I read earlier in a book. The book is called The Psychology of Money. And I don't remember the exact detail here, so feel free to correct me if you ever read the book. But it was basically about the author of the book used to work as a concierge in a luxury hotel. So he got to see like a lot of fancy cars and he loves Ferrari. And what he noticed is that when people see a Ferrari, they admire the car, but nobody gives a shit about the person sitting in the driver's seat. So the story is basically trying to tell us that when you think that you want a fancy car or an expensive handbag, what you probably need is people's respect and admiration. And you're gonna win that by treating people nicely and kindly, not by your Ferrari or your Chanel. And same, when you judge people, judge them based on their actions and characters, not their money. Their money doesn't mean anything because they're not gonna give their money to you. Well, if they give their money to me, maybe I'll rethink about my judgment against them. But okay, I'm just joking, alright? But people are not better or worse because of their money, but their personality. And don't get me wrong, money is so important. I love money and money loves me. But I think when you are an asshole, and it doesn't matter how much money you earn, you will never find people that wants to stay around you voluntarily. People around you just want to take advantage of you. And sooner or later you'll find out that you can't trust anybody around you. And that for me is just so sad and empty. Like, what is the point to have a lot of money but not having anybody to spend it with? And lesson 3, people are cheap and full of shit. Their title doesn't mean anything. So, working in a 5-star hotel, you will meet a lot of corporate people. And these people, a lot of times, they have fancy titles like they're a CEO, business owner, founder, things like that. But these people, they are usually super difficult and mean. A lot of them. And I heard about this in other industries as well. But I'll tell you what I know. What I notice about these people is that they're just like the owner of the small company that they have. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? You can call yourself CEO of a company, that's right. But what is wrong is that these people, they love flashing off their titles with the staff and then just try to manipulate you with that shit. And these people usually are men. So they're usually like, oh, I'm the CEO of blah 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 company. I stay with you guys all the time, and can you give me a cheaper rate? See, that's always their ultimate intention. They always want a cheaper room rate. And I would just be like, you're a CEO of a company. Like, why are you so cheap, you know? That's my point, guys. Don't get fooled by people's title, because people can just make up that shit. And even when it's real, it doesn't mean anything. It's like, I can call myself a CEO of this podcast. You know what? Actually, I will. Actually, it sounds pretty good. Like, please refer to me as CEO Jasmin from now on. Thank you very much. But, sorry guys. Alright. But I want to make a small conclusion before we heading to the second half of this podcast. I think growing up, the way that people around me talk about rich people or successful people make me feel like these successful people or rich people are more special or that money is everything. And are you surprised? I'm Asian, right? But that makes me feel like whenever I'm around these people that I can't behave normally or I feel a certain pressure around them because I feel like they are better than me. And now I finally have enough life experience and enough understanding about self-worth to understand that that's just entirely wrong. That people are just people, regardless of their social status, regardless of their money, regardless of their wealth, and that we should always treat people equally. But to be very honest, I think this is easier to be said than done. Alright, guys, so before we move on to the following points, if you don't like racist jokes, you should leave right now because I'm going full on unfiltered today. I do not care. I'm unleashing my inner beast. Don't say I didn't warn you, so let's get started. Lesson 4, don't mess with Chinese people. They will annoy you to death. Well, we all know they are rude, but that's not what I want to talk about today. So, while I was working at a hotel, I have this honor and privilege to work with Chinese people multiple times. Too many times, actually. And honestly, oh my god, they are so scary. I cannot go into details, but I can tell you the way that Chinese people work is that they will send you an email, and then 30 seconds later, you will expect a phone call from them asking you, have you received the email? Seriously, 30 seconds to 1 minute usually. And then if you don't reply to that email, they will call you every single hour. It was scary as fuck. And another thing about Chinese people is that they hate to speak English. So if they can speak Mandarin, they will do it. But they assume that all Asian people can speak Mandarin. And so if you speak Mandarin, unfortunately, like I do, hear me out. Don't speak Mandarin with them because once they know that you speak Mandarin, they will treat you as if you are their best friend and you're fucked for life, like me. I don't really speak Mandarin at work because I was working in Australia, right? But I was too honest. So whenever there's a Chinese client that approach me and then straight up start speaking Mandarin, I cannot pretend like I don't understand them. So I would just reply them in Mandarin. And then, before I know, all Chinese people love me. And I became their go-to girl. And like I used to joke about this a lot when I was at work. I used to call myself a professional Chinese coordinator. What a good old times. But Asian people are just so up to things when it comes to work, which make them a perfect employees. Like if I'm ever gonna open a business, I'll definitely hire Asian people, no doubt. So if you're a manager and you're looking for somebody right now, here's my advice. Hire Japanese and Chinese people because they will give their heart and soul to you. You're welcome. And Aussie people, on the other hand, they are super chill to work with. Usually, like, I can got everything finished before they even ask. Meaning that, don't hire them because they're not gonna work their ass off for you. But I love Australia, by the way. Don't kill me. Okay, so now you're probably thinking, what about Taiwanese? You haven't talked about your own country. Well, I'm not gonna turn my back on my own country, okay? Well, if you call that a country. Alright. Oh gosh, I'm on fire. Alright, guys, but this is just for entertainment, alright? This is purely entertainment. Please don't take anything I said seriously. And I still hope that you managed to learn something from today's episode, or at least that you left a bit from it. And again, thank you guys so much for listening to my podcast today. And as usual, pause this podcast, leave a 5-star review, share it with your friend, and if you have any recommendations or any suggestions, feel free to let me know. If you really like racist jokes, let me know as well, because I would love to do more about this. And thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Bye now!